everybody started to say, this song, if we are participating this year in Eurovision, do you think that it's going to be successful? And I say, I don't care.
Yeah,
This
who
year,
cares?
I don't care.
Benidorm Fest is the annual week-long musical event that Spain has used to choose its entry for the Eurovision Song Contest. Inspired by the historic Benidorm International Song Festival, the modern version was launched in 2022 with two main objectives: to create a new platform for the Spanish music industry and to turn around their Eurovision results.
Another 0 points.
But only a few years later, things have changed. Spain has joined 4 other countries in boycotting Eurovision due to Israel's continued participation as it commits a genocide. Rather than cancelling the festival again, RTVE is keeping it alive, with the goal of making it the engine of the Spanish music scene. Today we're taking a look at how Benidorm Fest is looking towards a future without Eurovision, and what it's going to take to keep the momentum going. Joining me to talk about what went down this year is someone that Spanish fans may know as ChicoToxico. He attended this year's Benidorm Fest and shared a lot of insights with me. But before we talked about the festival itself, I asked him about how Spain's decision to boycott Eurovision has been received so far.
I'm very happy about the decision. I think that the majority of Eurofans here in Spain, they are also happy about this decision. Of course, all of us, we are very sad about leaving one of our biggest passions, because it's like breaking up with your boyfriend, you know? It's like, yes, we had a very deep love story, but we need to break up because they don't want to do nothing about this situation with Israel, and they want to keep them in the contest at all costs. Even the cost is, for example, us or these 5 countries.
For me, on a personal level, as someone who was kind of whisked away into the world of Eurovision because of my time in Spain, I found it was particularly interesting to see this acceptance for this decision because of how Spanish Eurofans are a bit notorious for being very passionate and for wanting so badly to do well in the contest, not always succeeding. What do you make of the fact that people have embraced the decision to boycott in the end?
What I was always saying in the last weeks and the last months is, yeah, we maybe are very strong in our decision. We know that this is the right side of a history, is the good decision, but it's going to be very hard in May to see how the party is celebrating without us. But for example, this week, having the decision about who is the winner of our national final, it felt like a relief, because we always have that internal argue, for example, with what happened with Blanca Paloma, that this is not a song that Europe wants. They are not going to understand this song. But this year, we didn't have that kind of conversation, because it's just, this song is for us.
The challenge of 2026 was that the festival had to be planned with both possibilities in mind, being both in and out of Eurovision at the same time. Since winning the festival would no longer mean that the artist would go on and represent Spain, there needed to be a new incentive to participate. And so what RTVE did was make the prizes more focused on artist development. The winner of the festival would receive a cash prize, with 100,000 euros going to the performers and 50,000 euros going to the writers of the song. There were also 2 additional awards given out. The Spotify Award, giving an artist the opportunity to record a single in their studios in Stockholm, and the Univision Award, to go to Miami to record with a producer within the Latin music industry. RTVE received 870 entries, which is comparable to previous years. The only exception is with 2025, where they say there were about 1,000 entries. For some reason, they don't have an exact figure on that specific year, but in any case, the submissions for 2026 are very similar to how they were before. This is a really good sign, the fact that there wasn't a drop-off in interest from the industry, even though it was unclear whether or not the winner would go to Eurovision. And considering that RTVE's goal is to be the engine of the Spanish music industry, as they've said, they're still in a pretty good position to achieve that.
This year it was most important than ever to have a hit in our Spanish charts. We need that the people in Spain and the artists in Spain, they see Benidorm Fest as a good contest to participate or to watch, because hits are coming out from this contest without the interest of Eurovision.
Every year, there's been at least one song that made it onto the charts. Often it was the festival's winner, who would obviously benefit from the additional exposure of Eurovision, but some of the biggest hits actually came second or third in Benidorm Fest, like Rigoberta Bandini's Ay Mama or Vico's Noche Entera. So has the festival found that hit for 2026? The winner of Benidorm Fest this year was Tony Grox and Lucy Callis with Te Amaré. Quite clearly one of the biggest earworms of the selection, and if there was any one song that had a bit more of that earworm quality, then you could say that Despierto Amándote by Miranda and Baila Mamá had a bit more of an unmistakable charm to their song. But nonetheless, this was quite popular from the outset, and I think that apart from the catchiness, part of what made it so popular was that it was more than just an ordinary pop song. It sounds like summer, it captures that feeling of falling in love, and as the song builds with the clapping and layers of vocals, it feels more and more anthemic.
I love this song. I think that everybody loves this song. When I talk with other Benny fans, we call ourselves as Benny fans. Maybe it's not their favorite one, but everybody likes it. I don't know, it's a kind of song that here in Spain we love a lot because of the rhythm, because it's like pop, mix it with a little bit of flamenco style. Every time that they play the song, everybody stands up and starts to dance this song. For me, it's the most clear hit of this edition. So if this song is successful, maybe I start to say, I love this song, and we can say, yes, it was the winner of Benidorm Fest. And they say, really? It was the winner of Benidorm Fest? Oh.
Winning the festival has so far helped the song commercially. It shot to the top of the viral 50 songs in Spain on Spotify, and later it landed on the top 100 singles charts, entering at number 60. Whether or not it can maintain that momentum will depend on a number of factors. If let's say that it doesn't, then they'll at least have another shot at making a new single for the Latin American market after taking home the Univision Award. For now, we can say that Benidorm Fest has maintained its streak of getting at least one single on the Spanish charts every year, regardless of whether or not that song goes to Eurovision. And speaking of that,
I think that this year we enjoyed even better at Benidorm Fest without having that Eurovision background. Everybody started to say, if we are participating this year in Eurovision, do you think that it's going to be successful? And I say, I don't care.
Yeah, who cares?
I don't care.
Now, Tony Grox and Lucy Callis were far from the only artists that were seen as potential winners. There were discussions around artists like Kenneth, like Miranda and Baila Mamá, but there was one artist that really caught a lot of people's attention, especially by the time we saw rehearsals.
It's Mata Ora Beat. Nadie pronuncia mi nombre.
Rosalinda Galan's Mata Ora is a reinterpretation of the story of Carmen from George Bizet's opera of the same name. Besides being a favorite going into the festival, a lot of people feel that Rosalinda's performance was impeccable, and that the staging was one of the most ambitious projects that Benidorm has ever seen. If you want a little bit more detail about the specifics of the song and performance, Gabe did a dissection of it in his video about Benidorm Fest, which you can check out in the link in the description. Now, in the end, this song did quite well in the festival, finishing 3rd overall. But I think what took a lot of people by surprise was how the song performed much worse than expected with the jury. And because the feelings are quite strong about how this was undeserved, I think that Mata Ora serves as a good example for how the festival might want to reflect on what it's aiming to achieve. One of the most significant changes to Benidorm Fest this year was with the creative team. RTVE hired Sergio Jaén, who has been one of the most in-demand directors since staging Ireland's Eurovision entry from 2024, and then, of course, Austria's winning song from last year. Along with visual designer Ari Levella and choreographer Borja Rueda, they staged all but one of the entries that competed. And while each one had its share of creativity and impact, Mata Ora's was a clear standout for its level of ambition.
We were there in the stadium watching how everything worked. Sergio made this work of lights and panels and shadows, and you see the dancers how they move to make that shadows working, how the cameraman also move from up to down. So I think that in an artistic way, in a technical way, it was absolutely unique. That's why I was very shocked about the points that the jury gave to Rosalinda, because it was like in the middle of the table.
Rosalinda
And it was like, no, it's impossible. For example, and knowing, for example, that the Kinkies, it was even higher than Rosalinda. I love the Kinkies song, but putting Rosalinda in the 6th or in the 7th position, no, it's something that I cannot understand.
I also don't think that should have been higher, even if it's just like slightly. But the bigger shock for me was Ihsan Yunus, who I understand has like a very catchy, radio-friendly, international-sounding song, but he was like really nervous and kind of awkward at times. And I couldn't understand the juries putting that higher than like something that might not necessarily have the radio qualities to it, but is like executed to a T. That to me was the biggest shock. So I just wanted to get that out there.
Our Benidorm Fest jury, even in the last years, is a very special jury. It's not the typical jury, because I think that they try always every year to get potential hit songs in good positions. For example, it happens with Zorra. I always thought that it was going to be in a very low positions for the jury, and I was very shocked when they put it in the first position. It was like, what? Zorra for the jury? Okay, I was happy. And I think that something similar happened this year. They put Ihsan Yunus in the first positions, even Tony Grox. But for example, something strange happened with Kenneth. It's a kind of music that we listen a lot here in Spain. I think that it has the potential also for being a hit. That's why when they punish Kenneth, putting him in the last position, but then they put Tony Grox and Lucy Callis in one of the highest positions, and so the jury is always in Benidorm Fest is a little bit complicated to understand what they do.
This is something that I think the festival needs to clarify for the future. How important is it for performances to be crafted in this Eurovision style with immersive cinematography and elaborate camera cuts? We know already that they want the festival to be a place where hit songs are made. But if a song's radio airplay qualities are going to be appreciated more by the jury than the visual artistry or the vocal performance, then maybe you don't need elaborate staging. Maybe the focus should be on live music instead. That way, the performers can focus more on singing instead of where the cameras are and hitting their cues. And the broadcast can benefit more from the energy that live instruments bring to a performance. Of course, that would mean not building upon what was one of the most successful aspects of this recent edition, the visuals. But at the moment, it seems like both visuals and vocals don't matter quite as much, given that a number of songs that ranked higher than Rosalinda were evidently weaker in both areas. Anyway, despite a lot of people feeling like she deserved better, she was at least redeemed later on by coming second with both the televote and the demoscopic jury. As for the song that won the jury vote, there's much less disagreement about the success that it earned. Asha's song Turista balances being catchy with having a light and easygoing sound. Much like our winner Te Amaré, this one also invokes the feeling of summer love, but with more of a melancholic twist. In addition to winning the jury vote and coming second overall, Asha also took home the Spotify Award, which again makes sense because these are the kind of songs that are thought of being more suitable for streaming, rather than the songs with high drama and big vocals. And with that in mind, this is another interesting example of that kind of tug and pull between those kind of entries that demand big performances like Mata Ora versus pop songs that are well executed but more understated like Turista. This was performed well and visually distinct. It had the brightest and most colorful staging, which definitely helped it stand out from the darker atmosphere of most of the others. But it was also less challenging to perform and not quite as entertaining. Both the demoscopic jury and the televote put Asha in the middle of the pack. Finishing in second overall was largely thanks to being the jury favorite.
In the rehearsals, they made the typical press poll. In that semi-final, I vote for Asa. Yeah, Asa is a very pretty thing, and they made also a very video clip thing that you can appreciate. If they, for example, put Asa in the first position, Rosalinda in the second, or Tony Grox in the second, and Rosalinda in third position. Now I can understand that because I also love Asa. I would like to to speak with some of the jurists. I need some explanation about this because I don't get it.
Once we see a festival that's planned with Eurovision completely out of the picture, then I think we'll get a better idea of how RTVE is going to be striking this balance. For the time being, I think that the majority of people are satisfied with the top three, even if they might not agree with who finished higher than the others. Now, we've talked about how Benidorm Fest has continued to have a positive reception amongst fans and with the industry. On the audience side of the equation, it's quite a different story. This year's show saw the lowest viewership since the festival was launched, with the final reaching just over 1 million viewers on average. Previous editions of the show saw close to 2 million for the final, so this is quite a substantial drop. Now, despite this, it still managed to be the ratings leader on 2 out of the 3 broadcasts, including the final. And so even with a significantly smaller audience, it still managed to be one of the most popular programs in Spain throughout the week. It's also difficult to say where the expectation should be now that Benidorm Fest is trying to do its own thing without Eurovision. For me, it's hard to imagine a scenario in which there wouldn't be a drop-off of some kind, and I think it's going to take some time before we find out where the real benchmark should be.
We feel a little bit sad about the results of audience in the TV show because it was like the best year and we had like the worst result in audience, in TV audience. So we are a little bit sad, but they have confirmed that we are going to have a Benidorm Fest 2027. The sensation here in Spain and in general is it was the best Benidorm Fest of all. If you compare the acts of 2022, for example, the act of Unique or Marta Sango, I don't know, any of them, and then compare with any of this year, and you see that it's a very high jump of quality. You know, it's impressive.
And apart from being well-reviewed and providing commercial success for its participants, here's one thing that can be celebrated. This was a relatively drama-free edition, possibly the least controversial ever. And sure, there was the discussion around Rosalinda's results, but for a song contest, that's like the most run-of-the-mill issue that you expect almost every year in every country. Apart from that, you had Luna Key leaving the show early before the semifinal results came in, but that hardly impacted the show overall. What you didn't have were conflicts like the insane level of backlash around Chanel's victory in 2022 for not having been the televote favorite. She, of course, went on to make everybody eat their words by getting their best Eurovision result in almost 30 years. You also didn't have artists putting their foot in their mouths by talking unfavorably about other competitors, or complaining that they're being discriminated against for being too attractive. And in contrast to that, you had a lot of artists from previous editions speaking highly about their experiences, with some even calling it a turning point in their careers. What Benidorm Fest has shown us is that if you're going to try and build an event from the ground up that aims to be at the scale of Sanremo or Melodifestivalen, it takes a lot of trial and error. They've obviously taken a lot of cues from those shows, but now they have the best opportunity to make the festival its own thing. It's still going to take some work, but as long as RTVE can maintain trust in the industry and guide itself without the looming presence of Eurovision, then it can turn into an event that other countries look towards for inspiration.
The most important things always are the songs. Without good songs, it's impossible to build up a good future for the festival. So we have to keep talking with labels or with independent artists and try to bring good songs for the festival. And then try to repeat the same that we did this year in the future. And I think this year after year after year after year, people, they they are going to realize that it's a good show and they are going to keep attention year after year.
Thank you so much, Paco, for shedding some light on this year's show. His socials are in the description, so you can show him some love as well. There are other projects in the works, and I hope that you subscribe to the channel if you're interested in seeing those. I don't want to give away too many details because I don't want to give any false promises, but otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you again. Take care.